So here we go. I think we can start sharply on time. And as you know, our style is the smart brevity. So we try to run our discussions in the 45 minutes, 1 hour at the maximum, and provide you a pill of knowledge and a pill of thinking and critical thinking. And today we are, again, going back. Today should be our 19th seminar. So been a long way, and soon turning to the 20th. So soon we will have our second decade. Actually, not a decade number of, but let's pretend it's decade. And there was no internet back then anyway. But we're going back to the EUDR, so the European Union Deforestation Regulation. We covered the topic already a few times, trying to figure out how the regulation works, how it was impacting European countries, and is impacting particularly producing countries, and more specifically, the million of smallholders that are contributing to the production of the commodities that are entering the European Union. This is part of the Green Deal, as you know, and the Green Deal has been driving and leading the main politics of the current Commission. But as you know, the leader of the Green Deal project stepped down and now is running for election in the Netherlands. So it seems that there is a bit of fog now in the last mile of the project. And as you can see, also the Commission is very much busy with many other topics, unfortunately, some dramatic topics that are involving also the city of Brussels and elsewhere around the world. But it seems that that green leaning is somehow slowing down, and even the chair of the Commission is no longer so much interested in the environmental project that was initiated a few years ago. But let's see how it's going. Let me introduce our guest for the day. We have decided to focus on both the European side, so how the EUDR is being implemented, is being adopted or transponded, as you want to call it, in the European countries. And we chose two of the countries that seems to be the most advanced in the implementation process. It means that some others are not implementing anything at all. And I'm actually speaking from a country that is not doing anything. And then we try to explore how a producing countries is actually receiving the EUDR and preparing for the EUDR process. So I see everybody is almost online here and following us. So let me introduce our first speaker, that is Jelmen Hayes, that is the Secretary General of the European Palm Oil Alliance, or Belgian Alliance as well. Great experience in palm oil for the past years, and being meeting each other and confronting each other many times. So he has great knowledge. Probably same level of knowledge or even more knowledge is a great friend of us, that is Hedy Esselink, who is the Senior Manager on Sustainable Development at the MVO in the Netherlands. And then for the first time, we have a guest from Malaysia, that is Tan Chi Yong, who represent the MPOCC, that is the certification body of the Malaysian Palm Oil Organization, I would say Council, or in general, Malaysian Palm Oil industry. So we cover Belgium, we cover the Netherlands. That seems to be the most advanced countries, at least for our knowledge, in the implementation of the EUDR. And then we move to Malaysia. I would start with Jelmen, who's also providing a sort of quick recap of the situation in Europe with new regulations and directives. So we usually have the 8-10 minutes. Jelmen, the floor is to you if you have slides to share for our guest. Don't forget that we are recording, so the video will be available online. Likewise, the slides will be available online. And if you have any question, please, you can use the chat box, or you can use the question and answer box. And in the second part of this broadcast, we'll be posing the question to the three speakers. So Jelmen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pietro, for the introduction and for the opportunity. I'll just quickly share my screen, and then we dive into it immediately. So who do we represent? First of all, Egremont van de Moorte Ferrero, Royal Aquapuratos, Natra are some big users of palm oil in the food industry. Seep Evans Plantation, Liprobel brings together on Belgian level then some refiners, Fuji Oil, Cargill, together the food producers here, of course, very invested in palm oil. What do we see, and what is one major concern? The EU's Green Deal is one element, of course, and a driving force in it, but you can also look at it from the other side. There are many due diligence initiatives on member state level, and you can also look at it as it's bottom up, driving EU legislation with tremendous demands from civil society action, political process. The civil society action, you see it in blue. There's a political process already ongoing in red, adopted laws already on member state level in green. So there are a lot of due diligence initiatives on member state level. The material scope, or the scope in general, however, varies. It can be deforestation, environment, human rights, broader or narrower, larger companies, smaller companies. So the scope of that differs. The question indeed is, will interpretations be harmonized, yes or no? Will that evolve? And also with EUDR, a big concern or big question is, will the transposition onto member state level, the translation into law on member state level, will it create more divergence of interpretation, or will there be a harmonized approach? The regulatory landscape on EU level then, it's important to see that the EUDR as such is not the only element. We see indeed there is a deforestation regulation here. That's the EUDR, but it's part of a larger set of initiatives. I've put it here on top, the taxonomy regulation. What is the taxonomy regulation? It's about green sustainable investment. And on the one hand, they want to drive investments into what is green, sustainable energy and so on. On the other hand, and a very important part, second objective is avoid any negatives. To drive sustainable investment, they're also looking at harmonization of reporting for European companies, that is the corporate sustainability reporting standards. And to avoid the harm, they're looking at the teeth of the element, or the teeth of the animal. There's a corporate sustainability due diligence directive, the forced labor regulation, and the EU deforestation regulation, all of which puts liability on the company level. You will need to report on that. Every claim, everything that you say, Green Claims Directive is there. So everything needs to be measurable. You cannot just make empty claims about sustainability, also not in your reports. Most likely the interpretation of that differs a little bit sometimes, but the scope as such can be very broad. Today we focus on the EUDR. Importantly, now it has entered into force. The active obligations will enter into force end of 2024. And there will be a review on other wooded land and a review on other commodities in 2025 and 2026 respectively. The main elements, mandatory due diligence rules, which can be summarized as you need a risk management system, geolocation, commodity selected, palm oil, soy, wood, cattle, cocoa, coffee, rubber, some derived products. A progressive scope, as I've said, review at least, other wooded land, other commodities. Cutoff date is December 31st, 2020, which is explained as being sufficient to allow every commodity to be ready. A benchmarking system where several countries or regions within companies will receive a risk level from low, standard or high risk, based on which there will also be minimum levels of inspections for low risk, 1% of products to 3% or 9% for the high risk. And especially and in particular for the high risk regions, cooperation with partner countries is foreseen. Today we talk about specifically the obligations for the competent authorities. So the competent authority will be on member state level. As said in Article 14, there will be a competent authority, minimum one competent authority per member state, which needs to be appointed by end 2023. So in Belgium, it will be the Federal Public Service, Health and Environment. Member states are required to give the competent authority sufficient authority, means, and independence. There will be a working group to decide on the competent authority. In Belgium, that's probably going to be the Federal Public Service, Health and Environment, as I said, that indeed will receive the mandate. Also because they already have the authority of the law and product norms, and they are the competent authority for the EUDR. So they have got the competence and the mandate to already perform inspections. They will do this in collaboration with partner services, customs, regions, and competent authorities in other member states with whom they are obliged to already harmonize their approaches. And there's an adaptation of the law in collaboration with partner services. So they will talk with the aforementioned partner services on how the law will need to be adopted and implemented on member state level. Then what are their obligations? Article 15, they say there's need for that. They need to give technical support, advice, and information exchange. In Belgium, there has already been a contact moment for industry. They need to take into account in a situation of SMEs, micro enterprises, and natural persons. So there needs to be some consideration of how they take action. Article 10 says there is support in risk evaluation and best practices, which is one of the key questions that we still have. If there is a plantation that is linked to a deforestation, the immediate interpretation of the regulation is that, of course, whatever comes from that plantation can no longer enter the EU market. It is a bit more difficult because that enters into a mill, enters into a larger group. How do you really concretely do that? It's not always obvious. Annual reporting, also for the competent authorities, and need to plan inspections, risk criteria, inspect the control plans, controlplannen, yeah, that's Dutch, risicocriteria, risk criteria, measures taken, and sanctions. Just a second. They also give the example of the forensic analysis of wood, so they can take samples to determine origin. For wood, for example, also the botanical origin of the wood at hand. And from the botanical origin, they will then determine whether or not it comes from a high-risk area. For other commodities, there are similar approaches, chromatography and so on. For us, as said, this is one element of a regulatory environment, not the full regulatory environment. From 2024 to 2027, progressively other elements will enter into force. 2024 is the EUDR. We need to structure and form a basis of collaboration at that time. 2025, we will increase human rights monitoring, ready up for the CSDDD. 2026, comprehensive ESG reporting under the CSRD and a possible increased scope of the EUDR. And in 2027, we need to ready up for reasonable assurance requirement under the CSRD. We will need to have positive proof that whatever comes from suppliers is not linked to any environmental or human rights risks or violations. What are we doing today? 2024 and 2024. Advocacy for legislation that standardized sustainable practice through a multi-stakeholder approach, creating an inclusive system and a level playing field. We've already pointed out at several stages the importance of smallholder farmers, and market access is relevant. Strategic joint risk management to enhance negotiation capacities, increase leverage, impact risk reduction, compliance. Have a framework for company and joint actions. So we are looking at what indeed it concretely is needed, and that of course should also inform every action the regulator takes, hopefully. How do we do that? Well, we are committed to act. We are well advanced on sustainability journey, and the current regulation opportunity to showcase where we are and agree to move forward together. And we need to do so in an inclusive solution. Control environment support, identification of expected standards. We've already looked at what the key indicators are, what we need to do. Risk assessment and monitoring, identification of risk factors, development of a clear operational risk framework in line with risk appetite. sorry, we will need to look at most critical and most risky regions, of course. Governance framework, we will need to look at how we deal with that. That's the next step. At the moment, we are looking at the current regulation, where we are, what's the gap between what we have today available, where do we need to be? And then in the end, and if needed, we would need to create technology-enabled solutions. That is clear. Thank you very much. And I give the floor to Pietro.
Thank you indeed, Jelmen, and let me thank also everybody that is here with us today, and the many that have joined the our webinar. Thanks very much for taking away the slides, and obviously you remain here for responding and answering any question. Also on my WhatsApp, I got some private question, but I will bring them later on. Otherwise, question and answer. I saw a question regarding the slides. As I said at the very beginning, the slides will be available on our website, but actually slides should never be available, so everybody follows the seminar till the very end. And thanks to, before coming back to you again, Jelmen, and thanks a lot. Eddie, I know you don't have slides, so you're following my philosophy. Don't give anything to anyone so that they have to follow you. The Netherlands have been probably the most proactive country in the EU when it comes to the adoption of the EUDR. You generally, as a country, tend to do it unlike the pigs in the south of Europe that are usually postponing any adoption, if not at all, not taking any adoption. I want to hear how things are in the Netherlands, because we discussed this during the summer, that your government and you as an industry are working very closely. So it seems that you are moving very fast, and everybody's turning to you for answers together with questions. So can you update us on the state of art and how the Netherlands are doing right now?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot, Pietro, for inviting me and share, some of the latest. So indeed, you may say the Netherlands is most advanced, but it doesn't mean that we have all the answers. So I'm sorry about that, but no, we do not have all the answers yet. But maybe just to share a bit, what we are doing and what we have been doing over the last couple of months, weeks. So I work for MVO, which is the oils and fats industry in the Netherlands. So obviously we are looking at palm oil, but also we have a focus on soy. What we do basically is indeed we try to work as much as possible with the authorities, which is the ministry, back to that, as well as the company authority. But we do that on two lines, both in the Netherlands, but also at the European. And therefore, it's also good to see, what the context is, as Jelmen already indicated. Indeed, EUDR is obviously part of the Green Deal, and many more initiatives can see the light already and are discussed at this very moment or implemented. And it's good to realize that the EUDR is part of it. Having said that, of course, EUDR is, as I usually call it, sort of binary approach. So either you're in or you're out, and that is pretty severe from this regulation. So that might also be, the commonalities, but there's also a difference between other initiatives, as also been shown by Jan. Now, zooming in on the EUDR, indeed, Pietro, we have been working in the Netherlands quite intensively already with the ministry. In the Netherlands, it is the Ministry of Agriculture, which is the so-called coordinating ministry. And they have also indicated who will be the competent authority, which is the Food and Feed Safety Organization. So they have been tasked with performing the necessary checks, as indicated already by Jelmen, based on the benchmarking. Already beginning of this year, we organized a session with the ministry and the competent authority about, the setup of this regulation, which was not final by that time, but already we knew what was about to come. And I think it's also this sort of information that is crucial for each and every organization, not only in the Netherlands, where organizations that are in scope should first of all know that they are in scope, and then secondly, of course, they need to know what they need to do. And in a way, it's of course written in the regulation, but then again, there are still some pending questions which we try to get an answer on currently. So we've been working with the ministry and the competent authorities. We have had a first information session earlier this year, and we also plan to have other information sessions to the industry at the beginning of next year as well. In the meantime, also the ministry is aware of, say, their tasks, and they obviously also have a task and a role to play when it comes to the implementation of this regulation. The role is, of course, in the Netherlands, but also in, say, being vocal at the European level, say what needs to be done and what can be done and what is the most pragmatic as well. In the Netherlands, we do not work in isolation, so we have frequent meetings between all the sector organizations that are relevant. So including, say, the cocoa, also the timber sector, soy, palm, coffee, they're all included. And working together, say, we also try to have one voice to the ministry again, right? So to indicate, say, what sort of questions are pending questions are still generic, but also those which are more specific. We are working our way to through that, and I think it's effective as well, and also appreciated from the ministry point. Now, these sessions I was talking about, say the information session to the industry, I think it is also necessary in the near future to have generic sessions, right? So to include all the organizations, but also more specific sessions. Because the different products and the different commodities that are in scope, they also deserve specific attention, right? Because the supply chains are not exactly the same, right? So you need to have some sort of good look of, say, how to implement it for cocoa, timber, palm, and so we are now working our way through, and also have some pending questions. I may come to that in a minute. But we try to address them at the national level, but also at the European level. So we have our sister organizations in Brussels. We work with Veriol closely, but we also work both at national and European level with the grain sector and also with the feed sector quite intensively. And at the European level, we are also working towards a sort of guidance for in the palm and the soy. Because we think it is needed, and also say the companies that are in scope need to know exactly what needs to be done. So that is the way we do it, national level and European level, and that goes in parallel, which in the end should say come together. Of course, right? So there are still some issues at hand. Yesterday there was another multi-stakeholder platform meeting. I think, say, the information level still needs to increase, right? So has been shared up to now. The Commission already indicated that, say, the frequently asked question document will be renewed, and hopefully we will see a next version soon. And I think it's also desperately needed in order for the companies to prepare for the regulation. Because don't be mistaken. Obviously, you may say, okay, well, it's the 30th of December 2024, so a long way to go. But contracts have to be in place much earlier. Right? So we also need to know, say, what products need to fulfill all the criteria. Right? So is that, say, production before the entry into force? And what happens, say, with products harvested after entry into force, but then, say, also imported before? But then, say, even these products, they might be processed after 30th of December of 2020. Do they need a due diligence statement as well? still a lot of questions to be answered by the Commission. We, as said, we try to have them at the table of the Commission directly via Brussels, but also via the Netherlands, and hopefully also via the other member states as such.
Thank you so much, Eddie, and I'm sure you will receive soon some questions because it's very relevant. And actually, before we move to 10, there's already a few questions from an anonymous viewer. So please, guys, when you connect, try to connect with your real name, or at least make up a name that is better than anonymous, so we know with whom we are talking. And it's always good to interact with people who have a name, any name you want, but just a name. Eddie, just a question before I move to 10. Is the Commission cooperating on this? Is the Commission providing answering? Is it proactive or is waiting on the ice?
As far as I can see right now, it's not really proactive. Of course, we've seen the first frequently asked questions document, and as said yesterday, they indicated that we will have a revised version soon. But we also have issued some of the questions particularly and not received answer. Okay,
thank you so much, Eddie. Both Yelman and Eddie, there's 3 questions right now. One is very long, so take your time. In the meanwhile, let's move on the other side of the ocean. In this case, not the Atlantic, but we move to Far East Asia, to one of the largest producing countries when it comes to palm oil specifically. And we want to discuss and hear from you how, as a country, you are preparing to the EUDR, to the regulation that is now here. I know there were some concerns. There were concerns very much on smallholders, not so much from the Malaysian side, but still very much concerned about the classification of countries. So it's a matter of terminology and also how this is addressed in the regulation. Tan, I know you have a presentation you want to show. You know, we have to stay within the 10 minutes since you are new here, but I know you will keep your promise. And the floor is otherwise yours. You both work in the oil, but you're not broadcasting in your background any palm oil. It's just grass or wheat. Well, so nobody's showing. Eddie is showing. What is that, Eddie? Rapeseed? Okay, nothing about products that are coming into you. Tan, is your floor.
Okay, thank you, Petro. I try to be more low standard. Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tan Jiong. So myself is Tan. So I'm in the Malaysia Palm Oil Certificate Council. So talking about EUDR, okay, maybe let me load my slide first, it's easier. Okay. Okay, so why was that? Okay, Malaysia Palm Oil Certificate Council. We are the scheme owner for Malaysia Sustainable Palm Oil, a sustainable certificate scheme for palm oil in Malaysia. So what happens that we have been operating since 2015. And for your information, MSPO is mandatory implemented in Malaysia since 1 January 2020. Okay. So regarding EUDR, when it was announced, what happens that Malaysia is the second largest producing country for palm oil, we start to do some so-called research. Okay, we need to know what is the requirement of EUDR, how you impact the palm oil industry in Malaysia. So what happens that we use MSPO as a example. So okay, so when we go out of EUDR, you know, it covers palm oil, cattle, soya, coffee, cocoa, timber, and rubber. And it set a strong mandatory due diligence rule for operators and traders from EU to prove that the products are both deforestation-free after December 2020 and also legality. And also the operator and trader need to collect precise geographical information on the farmland where the company they source, and this company can be checked for the compliances. So comparing with this, the EUDR requirement, at least from what I know, Okay, for MSPO, we already have a new standard. We call it MSPO 2022 standard. And for this standard, we have a cutoff date of 31st December 2019. It meaning that MSPO will not certify any oil palm area or any area that was converted from natural forest to oil palm after 31st December 2019. Okay, this is the requirement for MSPO. And this is not really a reaction towards EUDR, but the standard have been published last year, March 2022. The process of revision started in year 2019. So why we use, or why MSPO have a copy of 31st December 2019? Because MSPO was implemented mandatory in 1st January 2020. So to honor the mandatory implementation, we are copy of 31st December 2019 talking about conversion of natural forest to oil palm. So compare speaking, coincidentally, MSPO are aligned to EUDR. Okay. Then talking about legality, what happens that since this is mandatory and this is a certification, so what happens currently near 95% of palm oil or oil palm plant area have been certified with MSPO, and they are linked to what you call regulatory license, what you call MPOB license. So what happens that how we make it mandatory is by putting MSPO certification as one of the licensing requirement to get the license to operate. So that's how we make it mandatory. And the MSPO auditor will go to the ground and make sure, because one of our principle is talking about compliance to all the rule and regulations. So anyone that managed to get MSPO certificate, okay, auditor have proof they're following all they are legal in all the following all the rules in Malaysia itself. Another thing to say is that for MSPO we have a application called we have an app called MSPO Trace, where it contains all the geography information of all the oil palm plant area in Malaysia, the certified MSPO. Okay, so in this MS Trace, I think participant can just access from the website. Okay, you just search for MS Trace. No need to be registered. Okay, all the information is there are transparent for people to access. It contains geographical information. Okay, certify the certification, and also some simple public report. Okay, on the audit. So moving forward, what happens that for MSPO we have geolocation, even for smallholders. But the thing is that for EUDR, they saying that any oil palm area more than 4 hectares, they need to have a polygon map. So this is the thing that currently MSPO we don't anticipate, we don't have that requirement in our MSPO. So currently we are trying to develop a method or way on how to make sure any grower that is more than 4 hectares, okay, they must come up with their own polygon map. And maybe if can't, we implement it inside our certification. So this is one of the what we're going to do. Another thing is that talking about supply chain, because we talk about information of the area, grower area, you need to have a traceability to transfer all the information into the operators or to the operators. So this way traceability is very important. So in Malaysian context, we know the ecosystem or the ecosystem of the supply chain in Malaysia. In Malaysia, we have another player entity, we call it FFB dealer, fresh fruit bunch dealer. They are intermediate, or say middleman between the grower, the small grower, and the palm oil mill. So they are providing service of collecting all the fruit from the small grower, and they will sell it to the palm oil mill. So they are the intermediate. So what happens that normally they are business entity. So for them to share the information of their so-called source or supply to the palm mill is very hard, because this is a part of their business. So looking at this context, whereby MSPO, okay, with the new MSPO, we already come up with a specific standard for the dealer. So now the dealer will become a part of the supply chain of MSPO. Now they can deliver information. Okay, you can do the traceability and from the smallholders or the small grower until the palm oil mill and go toward operators in EU. So by having this so-called, they'll implement MS standard for dealer, it will complete the supply chain for traceability. Okay, so you can in this in context of Malaysia. So with that, we try to prepare. Okay, it means Malaysian palm oil industry to at least in compliance to EUDR. Okay. So next slide. Now this is information talking about the so-called the journey of MS education in Malaysia itself. So we started in 2015 as a voluntary scheme. So at that time the uptake is quite slow. Okay, by 2017, February 2017, Government of Malaysia announced that MSPO will be mandatory implemented by 2020. So you can see from the graph, starting from 2017 until 2020, the uptake of MS education is increasing. It's quite high. So by 2020, we managed to certify 4.8 million oil palm planted area. Okay, hectares in hectares. So if you look at EUDR, they're saying that they're not going to let deforest area after 31st December 2020 from going into EU. So in this context, MSPO, at least we have the information. We certify at least 4.86 million hectare of oil palm planted area in Malaysia. So what it means that we already have all the information on this entity. Okay, because in auditing we talk about legality, we talk about the origin, I mean when they start to develop area. So we have all the information currently in MSPO. Okay, but if you look at after that, after 2020, then yes, we still certify, but maybe they are not complying to EUDR. But at least you have one quite a big area they can source. Okay, at least in terms of palm oil, you can source it from. So, okay, moving forward, what I've been talking about EUDR. Okay, what happens is in Malaysia, the concept of EUDR, okay, except for the big players, they already know about EUDR. They are trying to prepare themselves for EUDR. But the thing is that we talk about smallholder or medium-sized estate. Okay, they are less than 500 hectares. For them, maybe they are not aware of the EUDR requirement. So what happens is that they are not prepared, especially talking about polygon map, because they say that any grower, they have more than 4 hectares of oil palm land, need to establish a polygon map so they can compare to EUDR. So that's why we need to create awareness in the Malaysian power industry so that they can do what is necessary if they want to involve in or to supply their oil palm or palm oil to EU. They also do complete supply chain, as I said just now. MSPO, we have a standard to certify the dealer or trader in Malaysia. Either it's oil palm, the fruit, or the oil palm oil or anything. So when we certify them, then we can have a complete traceability in Malaysia itself. So again, we create awareness, approach dealer, so for them to uptake MSPO. And lastly, also, MPOC need to at least make players or traders in EU aware that we have MSPO, we have potential to assist in terms of the EUDR due diligence because of what we have done since 2015, what all the information we have, all the so-called traceability, all the information, all the certification we have. So there's a potential for MSPO to become a tool, for due diligence declaration for EUDR. So in this context, we also want to go for collaboration because since we only have maybe 1 year and 2 months coming soon for the EUDR to be enforced. So maybe we want to open up to association in Malaysia or any NGO to work with MPOCC or any government agency to reach out to the smallholder, small medium-sized estate, include the palm oil trader, oil palm trader in Malaysia, to be certified. Okay, with the new certification, they will are well prepared. Okay, for EUDR requirement. Okay, and from our side for MPOCC, what happens is that we need to get more information because we're not sure the due diligence declaration. What is the format? What's the information needed? How deep or how much information needed? Okay, because for us MPOCC, since we are the owner of the MSPO, we want to assist Malaysian palm oil sector industry in complying to EUDR requirement. So, this is my last slide. It will show the latest certifications.
Very brief, Tim. Very brief, because otherwise we are running out of time. Thanks.
Yes, thanks.
Oh, you're done?
Oh, sorry. I thought it's my cue to stop.
Yeah. Okay. No.
So,
let's stop here. Let's stop here for a moment. We're coming back to you. Thanks very much, and sorry for trimming your presentation. Be ready that there is specifically a question for you in the Q&A by Saurabh Kumar. I see that there are several questions. I had more questions for a second round, but at this point, since we have a few minutes left, let me go back to, if you can turn off your presentation. Thank you so much, Ten, for supporting us. Here, I want to go back to Yelman and Eddie. There's a few questions that are here for you. One from Salvatore, and there's a bunch from the Anonymous. So let me know if you have picked one of the questions you want to answer yourself, or you want me to read them for you, because there are several of them, or you didn't do the homeworks when I told you to do so.
As you prefer. I've read them.
Just go ahead, Yelman, if you have appointed one question.
Maybe you can take the first one, Yelman. I go for the other one with the collaboration.
Okay.
Well, then let's start with the first one, maybe. A structure framework of the country benchmarking system, which will be instrumental in determining the risk level of the producer countries. First, a small remark on the question already. It suggests that it is determining the risk level of producing countries, although indeed it is called like that. It is indeed country benchmarking system. The structure in itself, it's already clear that it is country or a region within a country that will be assigned a specific risk level. So at the moment, there was a call for tender, and there will be an external expert that will determine what is the most appropriate way forward to do so, and whether or not the whole country as such will receive a risk level or not. And then further beyond that, I can refer, well, it's Article 29 in the regulation, which already says, taking into account rate of deforestation, forest degradation, expansion of agricultural land, and so forth. So there are several indicators there. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Yelman. Eddie?
Yeah, and just building on what Yelman has just said, it is of course important to know, what sort of regions are we talking about? How big will this region be? Will there be regions, and so on and so forth. So that again needs some explanation in really the coming months, because don't forget, we all have to set up our contracts in time. Now, as for the second question about challenges faced when working with other commodities, I think that they're minimal, right? So in a way, we all have to implement. Whether one of the sectors or one of the commodities might be more advanced than the other, I think it's still crucial to implement it together, right? And as such, it does deserve a harmonized approach, because all the commodities are in scope, and as you probably know, there will be more commodities, i.e. products, in the very near future. So whatever is installed / implemented now must be also relevant for the other commodities. So working together in a way, I think, is really useful, also to learn from each other. And how can we learn? Just to give an example, as said, timber is also included. timber obviously is working with the EUDR, the timber regulation, for years already. Now I know that is about, say, legal compliance, but then again, there is a lot of, say, knowledge gained over the last years in the timber sector, which is really, really helpful also in, for example, identifying risk or performing risk assessments, etc. So that needs to be done.
Thanks, Andy. And the harmonization is certainly a crucial topic, considering that, as I said earlier, the Netherlands is moving somehow fast now, a bit slowed down, but still has started the process. There are other countries out of the 27 that have not initiated any process. So this obviously for companies is a matter of uncertainty. Is if in the Netherlands works in this way, in Belgium in a similar way, what about the rest of Europe? And companies in a way would need, in this case, probably harmonization. The same goes to producing countries as well. So it would be important not to have 3 speed countries in Europe, but probably just one speed for all. There's a question by Raymond. I don't know if you guys want to answer that, but it's, I would say, more polemic, including also Norway in the EU, but as we know, it's not part yet. Any concern about that? If you guys want to answer about the land of forest in the EU versus the producing countries. I'm not sure you have any comment. I think the EUDR is here, so in a way, there's not much we can do right now. But we have invited several times the European Commission to discuss this, but we didn't get a positive answer. There's 2 questions by Unitan, a good friend of us, also was part of our panel on technology. Certainly, Unitan is probably one of the most knowledgeable person when it comes to agri-tech. And the question by Uni is there a consensus on how EU will decide on technologies that can be deployed for EUDR compliance? Are companies both in EU and producing countries free to choose independent technologies? Do you guys have any answer to this? Feel free to say no.
I probably don't have the full answer. No, as far as I understood, there's quite some freedom, yeah, as long as you fulfill all the requirements from the EUDR. That's about, say, the current position. Now, I think, the heart might be in Article 9G and 9H. Maybe it's worthwhile to zoom in on that. So Article 9G asks for, say, adequately conclusive and verifiable information that is deforestation free. Upon the question, say, what would that mean? And say, indicating that, say, might satellite imaging do? Then the answer was yes, satellite imaging might do, but there might also be other means, right? So to show that indeed your commodity is deforestation free. So there is not a defined list of adequately conclusive verifiable information, whatever that should be. Now that is true for, say, showing there is no deforestation, but it becomes even more important when looking at Article 9H, where it is about legal compliance. And then a whole lot of, say, different documents are needed, yeah, to show this legal compliance. And therefore also currently there is no list provided of, say, what sort of documents could do, which are adequately conclusive and verified. So that is still an issue, and that's also one of the reasons why we are asking also to the Commission, also via the Dutch Ministry, to set up a European portal. Yeah, and this European portal should actually supply each and every operator and trader with this necessary information, because currently is not known. Imagine that, say, you have to show legal compliance from country X. What sort of documents do you need? And that is not known, right? And then, say, imagine that you also sourcing from a company from another country. What document is needed over there? But therefore, say, we actually asked the Commission, say, to come up with such a portal which indicates both the information that is needed according to Article 9H, yeah, so legal compliance, but also showing what is needed to perform your risk assessment for each and every country and or sub-region, right? Because also there, a whole lot of a whole lot of information is required, yeah, to build your risk assessment. But it makes absolutely sense to have a harmonized approach. So this sort of information per country and per region should not be different. Whether you're sourcing cocoa or timber or palm, doesn't really matter, right? So set up such a portal, which is at European level, where each and every operator and trader can make use of.
Thanks, and Eddie, that's a brilliant idea. Jelmen?
If I can just add one element to that, the final choice will lie in the hands of industry, because liability lays in the hands of industry. But what the Commission can do or could do in a portal or in a guidance document is also indicate, for example, for traceability, which specific systems meet some quality criteria. And as such, for looking at, for example, your traceability to the plantation, it may be a sector as a whole will not be ready yet. So how do we deal with that? Which at a certain point in time, which systems can meet specific criteria? And that is going to be a key element there as well to guide us in that. And the second point is, we see also an obligation of member states that member states are obliged to give information. How harmonized will that information and how harmonized will that be? There is no such obligation on the Commission to provide guidance or sector-specific or commodity guidance. So there are a few challenges left there. I think the key element is indeed what will be technologically of acceptable quality as such for a regulator.
Thanks, thanks, Jelmen. There was a question for you, Tan, that apparently has disappeared. It was down by Surav Kumar. Yes, where is question?
I think it's under the answered, because I just
Yeah.
answered.
Oh, you
question.
answered that. Can you just answer it publicly as well? You were doing that privately, because I think it was a very interesting question about the mass balance.
Oh, okay. So okay, for mass balance, here we're talking about certification. Okay, so the certification will be different from compliance to EUDR. Okay, what happens that you may have uncertified area that comply to EUDR. Okay, meaning that that area have been developed long before 2020, maybe 20, 30 years ago. But because by then they have not been certified, so the information are not there. So you know what mass balance is? I talk about mass balance in MSBO, they were certified. So in mass balance for MSBO, we only required the so-called entities that have MSBO certified to get information or to key the information of certified area into the MS trace, our platform. So they are not compliant, they are not required to collect information of non-certified area. Okay, so when the mass balance happened, the most you can get is you can trace the certified area. I mean, information of the certified area. The uncertified, currently in MSPO, we don't have that features. We don't have that requirement. I understand this is a concern because if for EUDR, if I'm not wrong, EUDR only accept segregated material. They can prove there's no deforestation happening. So if you're going for that, example for in MSPO context, then you should ask for MSPO certified segregated model. Then you have all the information. Okay, because only certified area will go through that supply chain. Then you have all the information there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Tan. There's a bunch more questions, but there's one from Salvatore I'd like to ask to everybody. In terms of time, if we are on time and ready to implement the EUDR, and if we don't see the risk that producing countries might turn to other less prepared, let's say, or less ready to engage with zeroing deforestation, I'm referring to China. I start with you, Tan. Do you see that if smallholders are not engaged, there will be a shift in exporting from Europe to other countries? That could be, you name them, India or China.
Yes, thank you, Petro. There is a possibility that this scenario will happen. Okay, what happens is that so smallholders, important is their livelihood. Okay, they're talking about earning certain amount of money to support themselves. So if the palm oil mill or the trader tell them that, oh, you are not so-called compliant to EUDR, okay, you didn't have information I needed, I can't buy your fruit. So what happens that they will create a so-called two different segment. Okay, a segment of the industry they are going for EUDR, want to comply EUDR, and a segment of industry that cannot comply or they are not able to comply in time. So it means that supply must still move towards somewhere to a buyer. So if engagement or support or awareness are not created early or fast enough to smallholder or the small grower, there's possibility that you create a two ecosystem or two supply chain in a producing country where the grower, they could comply EUDR with all the information ready with the polygon map or that, then they will eligible for EUDR. So they will can sell their product, okay, their material to the palm oil mill that one go for EU. Then another palm oil mill, we see there is a potential that getting more fruit, more supply, okay, they are not complying and supply to other country. So that's why for if EU or want to go really talking about taking a stand, want to support, want to reduce deforestation, you need to have enough time of communication, okay, to the producing country. Because even though we have regulators, we have, okay, but to reach out to the smallholder is not easy. You can talk to the CSO, NGO. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We need to buy time, communication, and also harmonization. Eddie, very briefly to you and to Yemen for the last remarks. You also authored a paper with Solidaridad and the Council of Palm Oil Producing Countries on the smallholders and the challenges for them. What's the status, and do you think the Commission is taking that into account?
Yeah, indeed, Pietro, thank you for raising that. Indeed, we have been vocal about, say, the fate and more positive, say, the role of smallholders earlier on, even before, say, the regulation was there. And to be very honest, I think, say, if say nothing changes, then say we will see this sort of exclusion model, right? So because just simply a lot of smallholders, and it's not only true for palm oil, can simply just not deal with, say, the regulation as such. And to be very honest, also, I don't think, say, that there's currently a solution for that problem, because the regulation is as it is and asked for, say, geolocation data and also the sharing of, which might be really, really problematic, say, load for small. Again, not only for palm oil, but also for
Thanks, Eddie. Thanks. Yemen, to end with you, we started with you, we'll end with you. One of the questions about whether the EUDR and the countries in the EU will be ready by 2024.
Yeah, I think last words for Eddie as well. The regulation is what it is, and will have to be, or at least try to be as much as possible. So in that sense, the question is, with the small element and the elements that remain, can there be a way forward and a gradual increasing of compliance in the sector? Will there indeed be a smaller section that now captures the market on short term? That is to be seen. But as such, and I think what Eddie said, he summarized it quite well in his last answer. I cannot do better than that. The regulation at the moment is the regulation, and we'll have to deal with that.
Thanks, Yelman. I see some optimism in this. Indeed, let me thank, since we just passed the hour, so precise, on time. Thank you so much to the three of you. To 10, you were up till late from Kuala Lumpur, from Malaysia. Yelman from Brussels, and Eddie from the Netherlands, from a beautiful field of rapeseed. Thanks to all the people, so many that follow us from all around the world. I saw people from Far East Asia, from Central America, North America, and from Europe, and I see some people from Middle East as well. So this is amazing to have so many people after 19 of the Sustainable Nutrition Platform meetings. Our next meeting, not the Sustainable Nutrition Network, but the Competere event, will be in Brussels at the European Parliament. We're talking about oil, but another type of oil. We'll tell you next time, so stay tuned, because it's a research paper we're presenting in the European Parliament. You received the invitation. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here with us. Good night if you're in Asia. Good morning if you are in America. And enjoy the rest of the evening with a great aperitivo if you are in Europe. Thank you so much, everybody, and take care.